鏡を見 Дамы и господа, просим вас отключить звуковые сигналы мобильных устройств. Дамы и господа, отключить звуковые сигналы мобильных устройств.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off the volume of your mobile devices.
Президент Российской Федерации Владимир
The President of the
Владимирович
Russian
Putin.
Federation, Vladimir Putin. Thank you. Thank you. Please take your seats.
Уважаемые граждане России,
You're citizens of Russia,
Донецкой и
citizens of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics,
Запорожской и Херсонской
residents of Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions,
государственные
deputies of the State Duma,
сенаторы Российской Федерации.
senators of the Russian Federation.
Вы знаете, в Донецкой и Луганской
You know that in Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic, in Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions, referenda were held.
в итоге подведены результаты.
All the votes were calculated and the outcomes are known.
Свой выбор сделали.
People have made their choice,
Выбор.
and this
Сегодня
choice
мы подписываем
is
договор
beyond
о
any
принятии
doubt.
в состав
Today we are
России
going to
Донецкой
sign the
Народной
treaties
Республики,
on
Луганской Народной
admitting the Donetsk
Запорожской
People's
области
Republic,
и
Lugansk People's
Херсонской
Republic, Zaporizhzhia region, and
Уверен,
Kherson
что
region.
Федеральное собрание поддержит
I am sure that the
конституционные
Federal
законы
Assembly
о
will
принятии
support
образования
constitutional
России
laws
четырех
on
новых
admitting to
регионов,
Russia four new regions,
субъектов Российской Федерации.
four new
Потому что это воля
constituent entities,
миллионов
because
людей.
it is the will of millions of people.
И это, конечно, их право.
And of course, it is their right, it is their inherent right, which is enshrined in the Article 1 of the UN Charter, which directly says about the principle of equality and self-determination of peoples. Once again, I would like to reiterate it's an inherent right. It is based on the historical unity in the name of which generations of our ancestors were winning their battles. Those who, from the roots of ancient Rus, for centuries was creating and protecting Russia. Here in the new Russia, Rumyantsev, Suvorov, and Ushakov were fighting. They were founding new cities by Catherine the Great and Potemkin. Our fathers, grandfathers stood their ground during the Great Patriotic War here, and we will forever remember the heroes of the Russian Spring, those who did not agree with the new Nazi coup d'etat in Ukraine in 2014, all those who died for the right to speak their native tongue, to preserve their culture, traditions, values, and faith, for the right to live. These are the warriors of Donbass, martyrs of Odessa and Kharkiv, victims of the terrorist attacks perpetrated by the Kiev regime, volunteers and militiamen, civilians, children, women, elder people, Russians, Ukrainians, people of various ethnicities. The true people's leader of Donetsk, Alexander Zakharchenko, battle commanders Zhoga, Kachura, Mozgovoy, Sergei Gorenko, the attorney of the People's Republic, all our soldiers and officers who died as heroes during the special military operation. They are true heroes. Heroes of great Russia. Please, let's honor them with a minute of silence.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
За выбором миллионов жителей в Донецкой и Луганской народной
Millions of people in Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic, in Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions, they made their choice, and our common destiny and millennia history is behind us. That was passed on from generation to generation. Despite all the difficulties, they kept the love for Russia through years. And these feelings cannot be destroyed in us by anyone. That's why older generations and the youth, those who were burned up for the tragedy of the collapse of the Soviet Union, voted for our unity, for our common shared future. In 1991, in Belorusskaya Pucha, without asking about the will of regular citizens, representatives of those party elites made the decision to bring their homeland to collapse. And the people, they were torn apart from their motherland. It dismembered our unity, national unity. It turned into a disaster. Like after the revolution, they were dividing borders somewhere behind the scenes, and the latest leaders of the Soviet Union, despite the direct expression of will at the referendum of 1991, they destroyed our great country. They just presented it to the people as a fact. Maybe they didn't completely understand what they were doing and what would be the consequences of this. But this doesn't matter anymore. The Soviet Union is no more. The past cannot be fixed. And Russia today doesn't need this. We are not striving for this, but there is nothing stronger than the willingness of millions of people who culturally, in their faith, in their language, in their traditions, consider themselves to be part of Russia, whose ancestors for centuries lived in one state. There is nothing stronger than their willingness to go back to their true historic homeland. For long 8 years, people in Donbass were shelled, were blockaded, were put under genocide. And in Kherson and Zaporizhzhia, they were trying to cultivate hatred in them towards Russia. And now Kiev regime was threatening them with death to school teachers, to women who were working in the election committees. They were intimidating with reprisals millions of people who came to express their will. But broken people of Donbass, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, they made their choice. I want Kiev regime and their sponsors from the West to hear me, to heed me. I want everyone to remember that people who live in Donetsk and Luhansk and Kherson and Zaporizhzhia, now they become our citizens forever. We appeal to the Kiev regime to cease fire immediately, all the hostilities, the war that they started back in 2014, and to go back at the negotiations table, because we are ready to do that. And we have said that on many occasions, but the choice of the people of Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, we are not going to discuss that. The choice was made, and Russia will not betray this choice. And the Kiev authorities, they should see this expression of will with respect. And that's the only way we can reach a peaceful solution. We will protect our lands with every means we have at our disposal. And we will do everything to provide safety for our people. This is the great liberating mission of our people. We will restore destroyed cities and towns, schools, hospitals, theaters, and museums. We will restore and we will develop industrial enterprises, infrastructure, factories, social and pension support, healthcare and education. And of course, we will raise the level of security together. We will make it so that people in the new region felt the support of the entire people of Russia, of the entire country, of all the republics, of all the regions of our great homeland and vast homeland. Friends, colleagues, today I would like to address soldiers and officers who participate in the special military operation, to the warriors of Donbass and New Russia, those who offer the degree of the partial mobilization, joining the armed forces, performing their patriotic duty, who are coming to the enlistment offices voluntarily. I would like to address their parents, wives, children. I would like to explain what our people is fighting for. Who is the enemy that is fighting against us? Who is trying to throw the world into the new crisis and the war and tries to benefit from this? Our compatriots, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, part of our people, with their own eyes, they could see that the ruling circles of the so-called West are preparing for mankind. Basically, now they threw away their masks, and we can see their real faces, their true faces. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the West decided that all of us will have to follow their dictate. Back then, in 1991, the West thought that Russia, after this kind of shock, will never recover, and Russia will continue to follow the path of collapse. And it almost happened. We all remember these horrible 1990s, full of famine and hopelessness, but Russia withstood. It was reborn, it got stronger, and it took its place in the world. And the West have been looking for the new chance to attack it, to make it weaker, to destroy Russia, something they were dreaming about, to dismember our country, to put the ethnicities against each other, something they can remain peaceful about, that there is so great big country with all its natural resources, its natural riches, with the people who will never live under someone else's dictate. The West can cross all the lines to preserve that neo-colonial system that allows them to remain a parasite, basically to plunder the world using the dictate of their technologies and dollar, to collect fees from mankind, to collect this fee of a hegemon. And this is the key motive that they have. That's why they want total sovereignty. That's why they are becoming aggressive towards truly independent states, towards traditional values and independent cultures, and attempts to undermine international and integrational processes that they do not control, new global currencies and centers of technological development. It is critical for them to see all the countries abandon their sovereignty for the benefit of the United States. Ruling elites of some of the states, they do this voluntarily, and they agree to become vassals voluntarily. Others are intimidated or bribed, and if they don't succeed, they destroy entire states, and they leave humanitarian disaster, ruins in their wake. Millions of people fall casualty to that. They create enclaves, protectorates, colonies, half-colonies, but they do not care. The only thing they want is to benefit from that.
Again, it is this will to dominate is the origin of the war, the hybrid war that the West is waging against Russia. They do not wish us to be free. They want us to be a colony. They don't want to have a partnership with us. They want to plunder us. They want us to be slaves, not free citizens. Free thought is not what they want us to have. Free philosophy is not what they want us to have. That's why they kill our philosophers. And our well-being is a threat to them. Our development is a threat to them. They don't want Russia to thrive. We want Russia to thrive. We need Russia. Again, attempts at world domination have been thwarted many times by the great Russian people, and now again we will protect our people and our values. Our enemies believe that they will not have to suffer the consequences of their actions, that there will be no ramifications, but that is not true. All the agreements that had been reached before on global security or agreements between governments are no longer respected or valued. Many of our former leaders actually listened to our Western enemies and decided to give up their weapons, their power, their everything. They listened to the lies and they believed them. And that led to what is now called a rules-based world order. What rules are we talking about? Who agreed on those rules that the West proclaim? These are all lies. These are all double standards and hypocrisy. They take us as fools, take us for fools, and Russia is a civilization of thousands of years, and we will not live according to someone else's rules. It is this so-called collective West that trampled on the principles of indivisibility of borders, and now it decides unilaterally who has the right for self-determination and who doesn't have that right. Why? What is the rationale for their decisions? Who gave them the right to decide all of that? Nobody knows that. This is why they were so enraged by the free choice of the people in Crimea, in Donetsk, in Luhansk, in Zaporizhzhia, in Kherson. They have no right to even talk about freedom of speech or democracy or self-determination of the peoples there. The Western elites deny not just international law and free rights, and they keep talking about apartheid. They divide the world into the host countries and the colonies, the vassals, the barbarians. They call these authoritarian regimes, they call them, divide the world into the they call these authoritarian regimes, they call them they call these authoritarian regimes, they call them these authoritarian regimes, they call them discriminating and dividing peoples into groups and dominating them. We will never accept this kind of nationalism and racism in Russia. We now see Russophobia and anti-Russian sentiment across the world spread by the West. And the West is convinced that its civilization, its neoliberal culture, is a template for the entire world to follow, and there are no other options, no other scenarios. They do not even wish to accept and repent for their own crimes of the past, their own historical crimes. They blame others for their own crimes. Take, for example, the period of colonial domination. In fact, it was back in the Middle Ages that the West started its colonial regimes. Then the genocide of the peoples of America, the plundering of India, of Africa, the wars against China, the Opium Wars. What the West did was they made entire nations dependent on drugs and eliminating and genociding entire ethnic groups. They hunt people like animals. This goes against what we believe and treasure as human life, and we feel proud that it is our country in the 20th century that led the anti-colonialist movement, that allowed many countries to become free, to fight hunger and inequality, to overcome many of those challenges. And the Russophobia and the anti-Russian sentiment that we feel today is in many ways caused by the fact that we did not let our nation, our people, to become a colony. We defended others and we defended ourselves by creating a strong centralized state that developed itself, strengthened itself based on great moral values of great world religions. and based on Russian culture and the Russian language. It is well known that there have been many plans at instigating interventions and launching interventions against Russia after 1917, during the First World War and during the Great Revolution. But by the end of the 20th century, the West was finally able to attack us. They called us friends, they called us partners, but they were actually treating us as a colony, as slaves. They plundered us and took our wealth, our money and our power. But now the people in Donetsk and Luhansk and Kherson and Zaporizhzhia finally decided to restore this great unity of our nation. Thank you. The Western nations for ages have been saying that they bring democracy and freedom to the world, but it's entirely the opposite. Instead of democracy, they enslave. Instead of freedom, they destroy. The Western world order is not free. It is hypocritical and full of lies. The US is the only nation in the world that used nuclear weapons, twice destroying the towns of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Let me remind you that together with the UK, the US during World War II annihilated Dresden, Hamburg and Cologne, and that there was no rationale behind that. There was no need to destroy with air bombardment these great cities. They wanted to do that to intimidate the Soviet Union. That was their only goal. The West left a horrible history in Vietnam, where they used napalm and other horrible tactics. Remember the Republic of Korea and their actions there. They keep calling South Korea their own allies. What kind of allies are these? We know that many of the leaders of those countries that are perceived as allies of the West are being followed, and there are various devices used to listen to them and spy on them. And the leaders of these countries tolerate all that. And all of that is branded as transatlantic solidarity. And all of these horrible crimes that are being committed in the war zones are also excused. And all of that led to a great problem that has to do with migrant flows. People are fleeing their countries, going to Europe and elsewhere. There is a problem of food security. There's food, there's bread being and grain being exported from Ukraine and Russia. Where is that grain going? It is not going to the poorest countries on the world, as they say. Only 5% of that grain is going there. It is all based on lies. And the Western elites are using the tragedies of these people to strengthen themselves, to destroy sovereign countries. The same goes for Russia, for the identity. This actually concerns the identity of France, Germany, and many other countries. There are calls for imposing more and more sanctions against Russia, and the leaders of Europe concede to that. But they must realize that when they are deprived of Russian resources and Russian energy, they will suffer a heavy blow on their own industries. This is not just being subservient to the United States by Europe. This is a direct betrayal of their own people. In fact, what we saw recently was a direct diversion and direct attacks on the Nord Stream pipelines. In fact, they started destroying the energy infrastructure of Europe. Who profits from that? Well, those who profit from that are the ones who are responsible, are the ones who are the perpetrators. It is this regime is all based on violence and intimidation. This is why we see hundreds of military bases emerging all around the world. This is why we see attempts at creating new military alliances, such as AUKUS. We see the Washington, Seoul, Tokyo trifecta emerging, and any attempt to challenge this Western hegemony is perceived as a direct threat that requires an immediate response, because all they need, all the West needs, is complete dominance. When they talk about their plans, they say that they're peaceful, but they're hypocritical. They talk about containment. And this word, containment, has been found in almost every security document of the West. What does this containment mean? It means undermining the development of any independent and sovereign center of power. We have seen this in Russia, we have seen this in the Middle East, in Africa, in Asia. And we know that whenever even the allies of the US go against the party line of the United States, the United States even attacks their own allies. Nobody is safe. Everyone can become a target, including our allies, the countries of the Commonwealth of Independent States. We have seen a sanctions blitzkrieg against Russia. When they started it, they believed that they will be able to control the world and place it under its whims. Some people believed that would happen, but the majority of states do not want to follow that agenda. They choose a path of cooperating with Russia. This kind of defiance is not something that the US expected to see. They have been accustomed to using violence, and they believe that this instrument of violence and direct threats is something that will work indefinitely. But this kind of politics is not just the product of the idea of American that America is special. There are many other origins of this. They are using fakes. They are using direct and propaganda. They are lying, just like Goebbels did. And the more brazen the lie is, the more people believe in it. But you cannot feed people with money that you continuously print. When you continue to push money into the economy, you cannot. It cannot become energy or gas that will warm your flats. You cannot feed people with money.
And these inflated capitalizations, it can also, you cannot keep anyone warm with that. You need energy for that. That's why politicians in Europe also, they have to convince their citizens to not to eat so much, not to take baths so often. And those who start to question this, and start asking questions, why is that? They are called extremists, radicals, or enemies. And they point at Russia. They are saying this is the source of all your problems. And they are lying through their teeth here again. And here is what I would like to emphasize. We have every reason to believe that the Western elites do not want to look for any constructive resolutions for the food and energy crisis that was brought about by them because of their policies that started long before our special military operation in Ukraine and Donbass.
Но не намерен решать проблемы несправедливости, неравенства.
And they do not want to resolve these issues of inequality, of injustice. They want to use other recipes that they are so used to. And I would like to remind you that the controversies of the early 20th centuries were resolved by the West by the World War II. And the profits from the U.S. helped the U.S. to overcome their Great Depression, to become the greatest economy of the world. And they enforced their dollar as global reserve currency in the crisis of the 1980s. And it exacerbated also back in the 1980s, but the West overcame it by using the resources of the Soviet Union that was falling apart and eventually collapsed. This is a fact. And to get themselves entangled from these controversies, they want to break Russia. Other states that choose sovereign path of development to plunder someone else's riches more and to use these riches to fix their problems more. And if this doesn't happen, I do not exclude it that they will try to bring the system to the outright collapse, and they will shift the blame on someone else, or they might use their famous formula that the war will resolve every problem. Russia understands its responsibility or its global community, and they want to bring these hotheads back to their senses. Obviously, this neo-colonial model is doomed to fail, and I would like to reiterate that there are true masters. They will cling to it until the end, because they have nothing else to offer the world rather than this pillaging, plundering system, because they want to deprive billions of people, most of the people, they want to deprive them from their right for justice and freedom of choice for their future. And now they shifted to the radical denial of the traditional values, religion, of family. Let's answer these simple questions now. I would like to go back to what I've said. I would like to address all the people of the country, not only to those colleagues that are attending here now. I would like to address all the people of Russia. Do we really want to have in Russia, instead of mothers and fathers, to have parent number 1, parent number 2, parent number 3? What kind of an extinction? Do we want them to impose this understanding that instead of males and females, there is some genders? And do we really want them to go through gender change operations? Do we really want it for our children? It is unacceptable for us, because we have the future of our own, which is different. And the Western elites, they are working against all the communities, against the peoples of the Western countries as well. It is against everyone. They want to bring back all the traditional values, traditional faith. And it's like the religion upside down. Looks like blatant Satanism. When Jesus Christ was talking about false prophets, he was saying, you will recognize them by the fruits they will yield. And we can already see this fruit, not only in our country, but everywhere. And it is becoming obvious to many people in the West as well. The West is entering the time of fundamental changes. New centers of development are emerging, and they represent the majority of global community. And they are ready to voice their interests, and they are ready to protect and defend their interests. And multipolar world for them is the way to defend their sovereignty, to acquire the true freedom, true independence, and future. Their right for independent, creative, independent development, to harmonious process all across the world, and in Europe and the United States also. We have a lot of like-minded people, and we can feel it, we can see it, we can feel their support. People from various countries and communities, authoritarian control the thing of the past, and peoples understand that the policies based on exclusivity of someone, on trying to subdue other cultures, other peoples, is a criminal policy. They understand that we should turn this awful page, and the Western hegemony will be broken, and it is
уже не будет.
unavoidable, and it will never be like it was
Поле
before.
битвы, на которое нас позвала судьба и история,
The battlefield that history called us to, it is the
за
battlefield for our
большую
people,
историческую
for
Россию.
big historical Russia, for great Russia.
За большую историческую Россию, за
For
будущие
great historic
поколения, за
Russia,
наших
for
детей,
future
внуков и
generations, for our children and great children, when we have to save them from enslavement, from awful experiments that are aimed at
искалечить их сознание и душу. Сегодня мы
maiming
сражаемся, чтобы
their
никому
souls,
и никогда
and
не
we fight
пришло в
today's
голову,
soul
что
that
Россия,
never
наш
could
народ,
think
наш
ever
язык,
again that
нашу
Russia,
культуру
our
можно
people,
взять
our
и
language,
вычеркнуть
our
из
culture
истории.
can be just cancelled from
Сегодня нам
history.
нужна консолидация всего
Today,
общества.
we need to consolidate
И в
all
основе
our
такой
society,
сплоченности может
and
быть
this
только
consolidation should be
суверенитет,
based on the
свобода,
sovereignty, on
созидание,
freedom, on
справедливость.
creativity, on
Наши
justice.
ценности — это
Our values
человеколюбие,
are
милосердие,
humanity,
И хочу
mercy,
завершить свое
compassion.
выступление словами
I would like to
настоящего
conclude my
патриота,
address with the
Ивана
words of the
Александровича,
true patriot,
Ильина.
Ivan
Если
Ilyin.
я считаю моей родиной Россию,
If I consider
то это
Russia
значит,
my
что я
motherland,
по-русски
it means
люблю,
that I
созидаю
love
и
in
думаю,
Russian way, that I
По-русски
create and
пою
think
и
in
говорю,
Russian, I sing and
что я
speak in
верю
Russian.
в духовные силы
I
русского
believe
народа.
in spiritual
Его дух
strength of the Russian people.
Его судьба,
Spirit of the people is
моя
my
судьба.
spirit. Its destiny is my destiny.
Его страдания, мое горе,
Its suffering
его
is
расцвет,
my grief.
моя радость.
Its prosperity is
За этими
joy to
словами
me.
великий духовный выбор, которому
And
более чем за 1000 лет российской
The great
государственности
spiritual
следовали многие поколения наших
choices
предков.
behind these words, and many generations of our ancestors followed this path.
Делаем мы.
And today we are making this choice.
Сделали граждане Донецкой и Луганской народности.
Citizens of the Donetsk and
Жители
Luhansk People's
Запорожской
Republic
и
made this choice.
Херсонской
People
областей.
and citizens of the
Они
Zaporizhzhia and
сделали
Kherson
выбор
regions,
быть
they
со
made their
своим
choice to
народом,
be with their
быть
people,
с Родиной,
to be with their
жить ее
motherland,
судьбой,
to share its
побеждать
destiny,
вместе с ней.
to win
За нами
and
правда.
prevail with their motherland.
нами
The truth is
Россия.
with us. Russia is with us.
Начинается церемония
We
подписания
start the
документов.
ceremony of signing the documents.
Президент Российской Федерации
President of the Russian
Владимир
Federation,
Владимирович Путин,
Vladimir Putin,
глава Донецкой
head
Народной
of the
Республики,
Donetsk People's Republic,
Денис Владимирович Пушилин,
Denis Pushilin,
глава
head
Луганской
of the
Народной
Lugansk
Республики,
People's Republic,
Леонид Иванович Пасечник,
Leonid Pasechnik,
глава Запорожской
head
области,
of the Zaporizhzhia region,
Евгений Витальевич Балецкий,
Yevgeny Baletsky,
и глава Херсонской
and the
области,
head of the Kherson region,
Владимир Васильевич Сальдо.
Vladimir Saldo,
Подписывают договоры
are signing treaties
между Российской Федерацией
between the
и
Russian Federation
Донецкой
and
Народной
the
Республикой.
Donetsk People's Republic.
Российской Федерацией
The Russian
и
Federation
Луганской
and
Народной
the
Республикой.
Lugansk People's Republic.
Российской
the
Федерацией
Russian
и
Federation
Запорожской
and the
областью,
Zaporizhzhia region,
Российской
the
Федерацией
Russian
и
Federation
Херсонской
and the
областью,
Kherson region,
о принятии в Российскую Федерацию Донецкой Народной Республики,
on meeting the Donetsk People's Republic into the Russian Federation,
Луганской Народной Республики,
of the Lugansk People's Republic,
Запорожской области,
of the Zaporizhzhia region,
и Херсонской области,
and the Kherson region,
и образовании в составе Российской Федерации
and on the
новых
creation of
субъектов
new constituent entities within the Russian Federation.
исполняется государственный гимн
The national
Российской
anthem of the
Федерации.
Russian Federation.